We want to resume our coverage of the Patrick Rafter match, 5-6 in the first set. Mary Carrillo, Jim Courier at the mics.
No breaks so far in the match. Obviously, that's an Aussie fan. Patrick Rafter looking for something to happen here. Slava Dosedel has never won back-to-back matches on grass. He's just never really done much here at all.
And this game should really work for him because he's not afraid to come to the net, but you know, he's not overpowering, so probably working against him in that fashion.
See that he hit that first ball kind of slowly, and then all of a sudden he was going to crank it up.
Just out of nowhere, yeah.
In the middle of his his backswing.
It's hard to understand how his brain functions because most players have 1 or maybe 2 gears, but he's got like 6 or 7.
And he keeps them to himself.
Yeah, pretty much.
Whoa.
Tried the corner and missed.
15-30.
Well, a little bit of danger for Dosedel.
He's got a little of that Miloslav Mečír thing going in his game, except that he's got a bigger serve.
Yeah, well, Mečír was never much of a server, but boy, was he a sneaky player. A big cat was Mečír's nickname. He was tall, but he was very smooth in his movement.
Il Gattone, they called him it. It was an Italian journalist who gave him that nickname. Trouble now. Second serve he's got to put in against Rafter.
And the second serve of Dosedel is not a big serve, so Rafter might be able to get into net, which is where he ultimately wants to be. But the contrarian, Dosedel serving and volleying. But Rafter did come good with this pass. Nice hold. Muscles it down the line. Not a whole lot of head speed on Patrick Rafter's racket. It's more arm speed.
Set point number 3 for Pat Rafter. He's 1 for 4. Break point chances.
And in he comes. Very successfully, Rafter pumping the fist.
7 games to 5.
Seemed like it took a while for Patrick Rafter before he could figure out how to attack Dosedel, but he's done it, taking the first set.
Coverage of Patrick Rafter now in the second set. 3-4, they're on serve, Mary and Jim.
Always an interesting tactic to drop shot your opponent when he's at net. Some of the best points come out of those shots.
Right, especially someone like Rafter is gonna drop shot and move in.
Dosedel trying to drop shot right in front of Rafter. I'm not sure where he's going with that point. But he's creative.
He is indeed.
And just look at the stencil on his strings. Tells you everything you need to know. A little smiley face. I was talking to Patrick Rafter in the locker room the other day. had to ask him, so what gives with the headband, Pat? So where is that coming from? He told me played a tournament a couple of weeks ago in Halle, Germany, and his good friend Paul Killer has been wearing them, buying them at local sporting goods stores, and Pat managed to get one off of him and was goaded into wearing it. He'd been wearing it on the practice court in Halle and getting lots of laughs from the people. He eventually got goaded into wearing that headband in a doubles match with Max Mirny, his partner there in Halle, and people laughed, and Pat kind of liked it. Likes the attention. So here it is at Wimbledon. This is a guy known around the world as a heartthrob, Pat Rafter, with his ponytail, got a samurai look. And now he's going for the anti-samurai with the. What is that, Mary?
Not exactly. I don't see why it's so funny, but I don't know.
Well, it's
I guess
retro.
I don't have that, sophisticated humor.
Oh, no, it's retro is what it is. It's like take me back to John McEnroe when he was a surprise semifinalist here as a college freshman at Stanford. Minus the big fro.
Well in.
And there was Dosedel coming in. We're not sure why. that was another rally shot, and all of a sudden, boom, he's in. And then this one inexplicably landing about a foot inside the baseline, Dosedel.
But even when he attacks, he looks kind of drowsy about it, Jim. It seems somehow he creates shots. He doesn't hit that hard, and yet he kind of has all the time in the world, which is just what you felt when you played Miloslav Mejcir, I'm sure.
Precisely.
Game, Dosedel.
I think he's just driving. He's driving Pat Rafter nuts. He's not really giving him anything to work with, He changes up every shot, speed, location. He's just not giving you a nice, good look at the ball. At this point, Rafter must want to just wipe that smiley face off of Dosedel's racket. You see that part of Pat Rafter's hair? You couldn't always tell when he had long hair, but that's one of the reasons why they call him Skunk. That's just a little shot of gray.
That's white. I mean, it is just a shocking section of locks in his hair. Surprising, Guy's got a great head of hair, and then boom. Looks like someone took a magic marker on there.
That's nice stuff. There is a reason why Pat Rafter cut off all his hair. First of all, he donated the haircut to charity, which is something he does more than just about any other player. But he got to the semis of the Australian Open. First time he ever got to the semis of that major. But he was getting hot. He was getting tired. He sweats too much, and he figured he'd do anything in an effort to cool himself down. A great return from Dosedel. 15-all. Of course, Rafter has won 2 back-to-back U.S. Open titles, 97 and 98. But he was so close to winning the one he's always wanted to win, this one. Last year, beating Agassi in the semis, and then going down to Sampras in the final. And boy, did he have a sniff at that match. Takes that one long.
One of the things everybody loves about Pat Rafter is he's one of the guys, and he's famous for being very candid. And after that match, he's just the other day he said, I know I choked out there in the match. I mean, I wanted it, I didn't get it, and I'm back here to try and get it again. A lot of guys would hide and say, well, Pete just picked up his game at that moment, and they would deny, but not Patrick.
Very candid.
Comes right out with it. I sure hope he doesn't retire. The tour would miss him greatly.
He announced at the Australian Open, where he did so well this year, that he was really contemplating it. He's had so many injuries over the years. His game is a very physical one.
That's with authority. Now this is getting a little complicated.
14-40.
Break point for Dosedel.
All of a sudden, all this latent energy comes off of Dosedel's racket. You don't see it coming. You can never expect when it will happen. Dosedel with a chance here.
Oh, he got it.
Dosedel.
Oh my goodness. 2 in a row. Slava Dosedel.
Slava Dosedel is serving for the second set, having dropped the first to Pat Rafter. This set, Dosedel has been driving Rafter nuts. He's only lost 4 points on serve.
The thing with Dosedel is he can just lull you with his soft shots and then strike at any time, and you get a sense of complacency about you. You forget what you're supposed to be doing.
I'm getting a little sleepy watching this.
Oh, I'm wide awake, Mary.
Let's first.
No, I can see why you just want to throttle him on a changeover. Give me something to hit, man. Give me a. Can you hit one round ball square?
Can you throttle a guy with a smiley face on his strings? It's like getting into a fight with the Easter Bunny.
30 love.
The great thing about Pat Rafter is that he will always put it out there. He registers great devotion to the cause when he's on the court. And that's why so many people like watching him compete.
$40 love.
There's 3 set points for Dosedel. Even this matchup at a set apiece. Dosedel a little more contemporary headband than Rafter.
Oh, look at that. Could not wipe the smile away. Slava Dosedel has taken the first. Pat Rafter has taken the second. Rafter won the first.
Been watching Pat Rafter, Slava Dosedel. 2-3 in the third as we send it back to Mary and Jim.
On serve in the third, Slava Dosedel serving. And again, Pat Rafter's trying to figure out what on earth is going to come off this guy's strings.
Let's make the bloody return!
15 love.
Nothing more to add.
No.
But I will anyway. Rafter, frustration is growing from Dosedel. His serve is probably one of the weaker serves on tour. And Rafter, there's no reason for him to miss a return. There's no reason for him. He's not going for a winner there. But Dosedel's just sneaky because he'll hit a 95-mile-an-hour first serve, and then he'll come with a 105-mile-an-hour second serve. No rhyme, no reason.
He's an
15-30.
artiste, Jim. I mean,
With an E on the end.
he is.
Indeed.
I mean, but it's easier to destroy than create.
Well, we're looking at a creative type, no question. He's checking out to see if there's a little piece of rubber loose in the core of the ball. Sometimes that happens, very occasionally. Apparently.
No, I think he could have been talking to it.
You think?
Oh, yeah, I think he said, look, halfway over the net, change your mind.
This is not Wilson. We're not in Castaway. These are Slazenger balls. There'll be no conversations. Okay. That one is a home run.
15-14.
That cleared the back fence
It's still going.
of this court 1 complex.
Rafter is 2 for 5 in break point chances. He's got a couple here.
Very well played under pressure. Rafter leaping but can't get there.
30-40.
Good disguise on this shot. Rafter never saw it coming and couldn't get up to it.
Still a break point for Pat Rafter. That is one big toss. And that's delirious.
A little extra something on that volley. Dosedel climbing back into this game. Not enough on the pass, and the smiley face says, "Have a nice day." Thank you.
Advantage Dosedel.
Mounting frustration for Patrick Rafter. I thought he played an excellent point. 15-40 coming in right down the middle to Dosedel, not giving him an angle to work with, but the creator going over Rafter, finding his own angle.
Game Dosedel.
Dosedel just hanging in that game.
3 games all.
You know, he gets so
First set.
used to power tennis on the men's side, Jim. This guy is really, I mean, he is such a throwback. And he just, instead of winning with power, he just, like, annoys his opponents, you know, to death.
There are a few guys out there. There's not many left, but a guy like Fabrice Santoro, 2 hands on both sides from France, really should be playing in about the 1950s. Slices well off of both sides and is really crafty. Andre Agassi's coach, Brad Gilbert, was a guy who lured you into
Oh, yeah. He
whatever he wanted to, really.
very famous for the disruption gene. And what Brad Gilbert was so brilliant at is the self-knowledge that he wasn't, as he couldn't beat a guy at the top of that guy's game, so he brought him down to his level and beat him from there.
Love 15.
Couldn't say it better and couldn't have experienced it more. I did get the business end of BG a few times, but I paid him back later on in my career. But always a tough match with guys like this, because you know their craftiness is there. You just don't know what they're going to do when
Let's.
unpredictable when you go out to play them. Most guys, a guy like Pat Rafter, you know he's coming at you. You know he's serving and volleying. You know he's trying to get to the net. You know what he's going to do. You just have to find a way to counter it.
Right.
Dosedel, you've got to be ready to counter whatever's thrown at you. Like shank passing shot winners.
Love 30.
And he's very calm about it. I mean, he may not have intended it, but he knows it counts the same. Oh, right in the corner.
It just seems like this guy is, you know, playing every point for the first time. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I got an idea.
15-30.
The only way to really handle a situation like this, I feel, is to just kind of almost ignore what he's doing and just remember what your #1 game is and try and execute your shots when you have them.
30 all.
Try and force him more into your game than the other way around. Rafter, get to the net as much as possible. Rafter hasn't quite figured it out yet.
But in his own straight-up way, Pat Rafter brings a lot to the party.
Swinging knee-high volley right up the middle.
That one usually works for him, I'm sure.
I think he was trying to just go right through Pat right here with a slingshot. Just a tough shot, really nothing else to do with that but give it a whirl.
I love how he apologizes for his errant tosses. Sorry, Mike.
A lot of toss problems out there.
It's windy.
Game.
Well, that's nicely done. That must feel good for Rafter to get off a clean winner. He's up 4-3.
Rafter leads.
Patrick Rafter won the first set 7-5. Dosedel drove him nuts and took the second set, and we're on serve in the third.
15
body below. Serve into the body. Rafter unable to get out of the way. Let's keep a running tally here this game where Dosedel serves. Okay, that was a body serve. Let's see where he goes now.
See, I think he decides mid-toss.
2 body serves in a row.
$30 love.
Not a lot of variety in those 2 serves, both around about 100 miles an hour right into the body of Pat Rafter.
Kind of get the feeling that gray patch on Pat Rafter's head is starting to spread.
Is it growing?
During this match.
Okay, Dosedel going to the forehand and Rafter getting right in behind it.
30-15.
Another body blow.
Pat Rafter doesn't normally do his business from the baseline, but he can do it if he has to.
Well, you know, it's not something that he likes to do, but he's really developed the ability to stay in a point. He doesn't often finish a point at the baseline, but he'll stay alive with a slice. Can't accelerate the forehand, but really the backhand, he rarely tries to go offensive unless he can get into the net. Use a slice for an approach and get in and use his body, his athleticism. Misses that one wide. And Rafter uses that slice.
40-30.
Unlike when Pete Sampras uses his slice to try and lure you to hit to his forehand, what Rafter wants is a short reply. Pete wants to run over and spank a forehand cross-court winner. Rafter wants anything short that he can pounce on and get into the net.
Game, Dosedel.
Well, Dosedel doing his job, not really mixing the serve up that much. So you see Pat Rafter's
third sets.
girlfriend, a fiance yet?
He doesn't really like to commit to that sort of thing. In fact, he's not quite committed to retiring at the end of the year. It sounds more and more like this man has decided to maybe take 6 or 10 months off. Just rest up his body and try to decide whether he really wants to devote another year or two of his life to this. Obviously, he needs a clean bill of health to play. And again, earlier this year, he's had so many problems. He had shoulder problems earlier this year. He was out 6 weeks with an elbow problem. He really bullies the ball around, and that's going to wear on you.
I think he needs as much rest for his mind as he does his body after the years traveling out from Australia virtually all year out of a suitcase. Much harder for the Australians than any other tennis nation, with perhaps the exception of South Africa.
Don't you feel that's why they're such good mates?
Well, they have to band together. It's kind of them against the world, and they're in hotels when everyone else gets to go home on weeks off. They end up in hotels someplace. Too far to go back home for a week.
40 love.
Rafter doing what he wants to do in this game, a little bread and butter ball. Keep it simple. Finish it at the net.
Game, Rafter. Rafter
Still on serve in the third.
Third sets. 1 set all.
Pat Rafter won the first. Slava Dosedel won the second. And on serve in the third, Dosedel trying to stay in this third set by holding.
Dosedel, it's just amazing. He goes back for that lob right on the baseline, and most players would kind of be, oh my gosh, that's in. I got to hit a good shot here.
I know. He yawned first.
He's so lazy. Yeah, he would check the time. I think, yeah, I got time. I'm just going to play this deep, and maybe Pat will be at net. Maybe he's not. So unconcerned, seemingly.
You think inside he's a raging turmoil?
There's no turmoil, but he's competing. The guy's not going away. He's definitely involved in the match.
No kidding.
Oops. The large toss coming into effect again. And he falls victim to it.
15 all.
Pretty low number of double faults, really, at this stage in the match.
I meant that.
You know, there's no worse feeling when you're on the court either, and you do that because there's nowhere to hide.
Yeah, people were watching.
As it turns out, a few million people worldwide checking that shot out.
It's got to be hard to time that toss, Jim.
No.
15-30.
You know, especially in the wind.
Oh, no, you don't double fault twice when you're serving to stay in the set, and he knows that better than anybody. But, yeah, that toss it's difficult. I mean, clearly that's a toss that was born out of an indoor center. You grew up in Florida like I did. You can never play junior tennis with a toss like that.
Dosedel from Czechoslovakia, now living in Monte Carlo.
Oh.
30 all.
Rafter looking around going, where is the wind? Hit that ball right up into the teeth of the wind. Where was it to pull the ball down? Pat's
40-30.
maybe still thinking about that lob. That forehand in the bottom of the net. Time to regroup. What is going on out here? Neither player is making good contact on the ball. It's not that windy. These guys will see a lot of wind, although we do see the ties blowing there. They'll see a lot of wind in Miami at the tournament there. There are other places where they play in wind. This is not unheard of.
I'm just so impressed by Pat Rafter. We saw him kind of barking at himself, yelling at himself, and so many players, when they're talking to themselves,
Rafter.
they lose the conversation. I mean, this guy kind of is able to talk to himself and figure out what to do with it. A set point for Patrick Rafter, and Lord knows it's been hard-earned. Oh, that's just nice. Bunks it down the line for a winner. Pat Rafter is up 2-1.
Rafter leads by 2-1.
And Patrick Rafter, the number 3 seed, would close it out 6-1 in the 4th to move on to round 3 here at the All England Club. Take a look at that bracket. Hisham Arazi awaiting Rafter next. Keep your eye on Mikhail Yuzny taking on Fabrice Santoro. The other part of that draw. After the match, Phil Jones spent some time with Pat Rafter.
Pat, you said coming into the tournament you wanted to get into a rhythm. You'd won tournaments coming into Wimbledon the last couple of years, and this year you haven't. Do you think that you're finding your rhythm now?
I'm still a little bit shy, I think, Phil. There's a few things I need to work on, and it's still not really clicking just yet. But it is good that I am still winning. But it's one of those matches that's great to get through today, and it's going to be another tough match for my next one.
Compared to this time last year, how are you actually feeling in yourself? You know, that kind of comfort zone, if you like, here at Wimbledon?
I think last year I was probably a little bit more comfortable. Came off the good win in Rosmal, and I was feeling very confident about myself and how I was playing, and I got into Wimbledon straight away, adjusted to the court very well. And this year I'm still struggling to find the right bounce and the right form and the right contact, and I need to find that if I want to continue on.
Pat Rafter meets Hisham Arazi, who beat Olivier Rochus today 7-6, 7-6, 7-6. Don't see that very often, and 7-3 in each of those tiebreakers. Still to come, Andre Agassi doing something at Wimbledon he has never done before, taking on a British player. Hard to believe. But next, Bjorn Borg. Mere words could hardly describe the quality of his play at Wimbledon. Jim, Martina, Mary, all here to reflect on Borg's greatness.